Hello and welcome to Market at News, Market at Noon with me, Ankur Mishra and Mansi Dave. And let's get started with the news which is flashing on your screen. The important hearing of Vodafone Idea in the Supreme Court. And the important thing to note apart from deferment of hearing is, has government softened the stance in Supreme Court today? To decode this, what actually transpired in the Supreme Court, we have with us Times Network's Harish. Harish, what were the comments which were made by government in Supreme Court?
Yes, in fact, a very crucial hearing. The Supreme Court was hearing a plea filed by the Vodafone Idea, challenging computation of AGR dues against it and sought recomputation. The cash-strapped Vodafone Idea had moved Supreme Court seeking quashing of the DOT's move to raise an additional whopping rupees 9,450 crore towards AGR-related dues by March 31st, 2026. When the matter came up, the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who appeared for the Department of Telecommunications, hinted at some softening of stance vis-a-vis Voda Idea, saying it's looking at some solution. He said, we are not opposing Voda Idea plea. Some solution is required. Government is also an equity holder. And once the DOT spoke about some solution, Supreme Court has given time for the resolution between Voda Idea and the DOT. Supreme Court has adjourned the hearing to September 26th, pending the resolution talks between DOT and Voda Idea. S.G. Mehta very significantly said, in light of larger public interest, government has also infused 49% equity. At this juncture, the Chief Justice bench, the Chief Justice B.R. Gavai-led bench, said thought it appropriate to adjourn the matter to next Friday for the resolution talks, but made a very significant oral observation saying that this dispute has been going on through several petitions are coming before Supreme Court. This dispute can't go on. There has to be some finality. So as of now, this hearing has been adjourned to September 26th, that is next Friday, with DOT's observation giving some hope for the Voda Idea, perhaps with with additional demand of rupees 9,450 crore as AGR they have to pay by March 31, 2026. Back to you.
Right, Harish. So important information coming in there, and we also have with us H.P. Ranina, who is lawyer at Supreme Court. Mr. Ranina, I'll come to you, but another question to you, Harish. You mentioned about some kind of resolution might be possible within the week. I want to understand from you, in the court, did government hint that in next week Vodafone and government is going to have some kind of conversation, and when the next hearing happens, should we expect that the court will be updated about the resolution?
Yes, that's right. The Department of Telecommunication, which was represented by the Solicitor General, hinted at some softening of stance vis-a-vis the dispute, very clearly saying that we are not opposing Voda Idea's petition. Some solution is required, and government is also an equity holder. And in the light of larger public interest, government has also infused 49% equity. So why it is important is that the cash-strapped Vodafone Idea had moved Supreme Court seeking quashing of the DOT's move to raise an additional demand of rupees 9,450 crore towards AGR-related dues until financial year 2019. The company had urged that the demand goes beyond the Supreme Court's earlier ruling on AGR liabilities. The DOT, however, told the court that dues are not a reassessment. It said figures arises from gaps identified during finalization of financial accounts. So for the time being, it can be clearly seen as a softening of stance when the DOT talks about, on its own, talks about some resolution of the AGR dispute with the Voda Idea. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Harish, for that comprehensive analysis of the observations which were made in the court and also the statements of DOT, which is clearly hinting softening of stance of DOT as far as the AGR resolution is concerned. Mr. Ranina, I want to come to you for this. Now, DOT has clearly mentioned that they are equity holder in Vodafone and also hinted softening of stance. How do you take this kind of stance which has been communicated by government, and do you see it is going to be beneficial not only for Vodafone but other companies as well?
Of the stand is done because both government and the telecom industry believe that they are in trouble and they have to sort it out. So I think the issue has been brought before the Supreme Court just to have the blessings of the Supreme Court to any type of conciliation. And that is why the Supreme Court also has understood the issue and said, we give you 1 week to come to a resolution. Please don't think that the Supreme Court should come to a resolution. It is for the government and Vodafone to come to a resolution. So that time has been given for 1 week. And certainly it means that both parties are prepared to negotiate and to conciliate and to bring down the burden. There's no harm in the government giving them more time to pay the 9,450 crores. Let them have some more time, maybe 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. That is a matter of negotiation. Supreme Court cannot rule on that. Therefore, this is something which is one of the avenues given to bring a reconciliation so that the telecom industry stands. You're right, it will affect all the other players in the market. And therefore, whatever stand the government takes in case of Vodafone will have to be then applied to other companies as well. So it is certainly a good news for the telecom industry. Telecom industry will stand to gain once the government comes up with a very liberal approach towards this industry.
Mr. Ranina, I want you to decode this, what transpired in the court today from a legal standpoint of view. Do you think this kind of application which was given in the court and now government will come up with certain kind of solution needed some kind of court signal before actually government doing that? Because the verdict had already been passed and there has been review petitions which court didn't entertain. So how this is going to happen now through government and vis-a-vis what court had already observed even today, that how many hearings you will take?
You're right. This cannot go on indefinitely. The time of the court is taken and the court is so busy with other important matters, you can't go on hearing this case. But this is just one window which has been opened by the Supreme Court for another 7 days. Please come to a settlement, come to some understanding, and then we will decide and give our verdict based on that. So this is certainly a good step because everybody realizes, all stakeholders realize that there is some problem with the telecom industry and therefore they must be given some breathing time. So this one window has been opened by the Supreme Court and I hope they take full advantage of it and bring a finality once an agreement is reached.
Right, Mr. Ranina, once a window is open, there will be other players who will be knocking on the door. Do you expect some kind of applications to knock the door of Supreme Court now?
No, once the window is open and the Supreme Court gives its blessings to that agreement, that the similar agreement DOT can enter into with the other telecom industries. Why they should keep coming to the Supreme Court? This is a matter between the two parties. So once a certain stand is taken by the government, by DOT, then they will apply the same thing to other companies as well. And therefore, the dispute should come to an end. There should be no, every time you can't go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is not an arbitrator. They are not supposed to do all this work. So let the DOT come to some, let them place guidelines which would be equally applicable to all telecom companies based on this Vodafone resolution. And then they can apply that to other companies. So the matter should not come to the Supreme Court over and over again.
All right, Mr. Ranina, thank you so much for your views. And Vodafone Idea at the highest point of the day, you can see the inching towards 10% mark after the news which has come from Supreme Court that some kind of resolution is in works. And that is what government has mentioned in the Supreme Court. With this, it's time to take a very